listening to the Dynamic Women podcast. Each week, you'll be inspired by our global community of women. They'll share with you tools and stories to help you be dynamic in every area of life. Here's your host, award-winning coach, and the CEO and founder of Dynamic Women, Diane Ralston.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this interview today with Nicole Duelli, where we get to talk about her and homeopathy. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, Diane. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a really cool subject, and I know that our listeners are going to really enjoy hearing more about you and what you do. And so let me just tell everyone a little bit of background about you.
Great, thank
you.
So
you work with women and children using natural medicine to help them reach their healthiest, happiest state of being and reach their full potential. So you're a classical homeopath, and over 20 years, it's actually what, 24?
Yeah, it'll be 25 years in January. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
You originally trained in naturopathic medicine in Germany, amazing, where homeopathy is integrated into the medical system. And as an instructor for the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, you're a writer of dozens of articles, blogs, and for the award-winning Encyclopedia of Natural Healing. Impressive. Wow. So you enjoy sharing tips anyone can learn to activate their body's innate ability to rebalance itself. Wow. So homeopathy, you know, a lot of people don't know about it, don't understand it. In Germany, it's just a normal way of being healthy and kind of preventative almost for a lot of things. So just tell everyone a little bit more rundown about what is it? Why should we care about it?
Yeah. So homeopathy is quite well known, as you said, in Europe. In Europe, 100 million people actually use homeopathy, whereas here it's not as well known for sure. Homeopathy is a natural medicine. It's very different from conventional medicine in that it stimulates the body's healing potential. So to me, I always think, you know, health is so important even to business, right? If you're having kind of a health problem, it can be really limiting business-wise, but also in your personal life. And something like homeopathy, which is a natural medicine that actually helps your body heal itself, can be so helpful in just restarting the body's ability to heal itself. So it's a little different. Conventional medicine works more on chemical imbalances, helping the body sort of a symptomatic approach, which is great in emergencies, great to find a diagnosis, but for any kind of chronic or recurring problems, it's limiting because it's not actually helping the body sort of rebalance or heal itself.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, did you say, I want to be a homeopathic doctor?
No, I had no idea about homeopathy.
So tell us how you got into homeopathy, and I know you've shared with me before how you were a bit of a skeptic. So, you know, there's a lot of listeners probably that are like, oh, that's just a load of bull, or I wouldn't do that. I've got a great doctor, or, you know, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us how you got into it.
So it was actually in my 20s. I was at a point in my life where I really didn't know what to do with myself. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to rediscover my roots in Europe. I had some family there, so I went to work and travel in Europe. It was a great year, but I had this stomach problem, this recurring, nagging, frustrating stomach problem come back. It was something that had plagued me my whole life. And I thought I had tried everything for it. I was eating really healthy, and I had a diagnosis which was, not a serious problem. In an emergency, I would, use Pepto-Bismol to coat my stomach, but that was just sort of a temporary solution. I knew that. And so I really didn't know what else to do. And so somebody in Europe, while I was in Europe, as you said, or as we said earlier, so well integrated into the medical system there. And so I ended up going to see a homeopath who was actually a naturopathic physician, or excuse me, a medical physician, a regular medical doctor, who was recommended to me by a friend of mine. And I was quite skeptical, I must admit. I come from a scientific background. My dad is a physicist. And so I was, but why not try it? Nothing else was working. And it was definitely very different. The physician took a lot of time with me, asked me a lot of very unusual questions about my stomach, about stress, about what made things better and worse, and whether I was hot or cold, and my sleep habits and eating habits and so on. And at the end of it, I got these tiny little pills. And within a couple of weeks, I started to feel a lot better. And over time, my stomach actually completely healed. So I don't even have the problem anymore. And it was such a miraculous, for me, it was such a miraculous response. I just thought, here, I've had this problem my whole life. I've been suffering from it. I've been frustrated. Nothing's been working. And here are these tiny pills that help my body heal itself. And so I ended up staying in Germany. It's actually where homeopathy was first discovered. So it was like a perfect fit for me because I had a background in German. So I stayed in Germany, studied naturopathic medicine and homeopathy for 3 years. And if I can just add, homeopathy, I learned so much about the science behind homeopathy when I went to school, but also not just for chronic problems. When I became a mom, when I came back to Canada and I became a mom, I found it was so helpful in the middle of the night when the kids always seem to get sick in the middle of the night, right? And so having those remedies on hand at home is also a great way to use homeopathy. So it's kind of for both ways, for chronic problems and for acute problems.
So did you learn about homeopathy in German?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yes. So that was really lucky because my parents were both German and Swiss, and Swiss German. And so I was very lucky in that I already spoke the language. It was still hard because it was my second language, but it was possible. It was a great experience.
Smart cookie.
It was amazing. Well, also because in Europe, it's so well integrated. We can't even imagine. In Europe, they have clinics where, like, for instance, David Beckham and Usain Bolt, these elite athletes, they go and they get treated with homeopathic medicines and other natural medicines for their injuries. And we don't really have that kind of thing where, even the Queen of England, Meghan Markle, they're strong supporters of homeopathy. So it's a very different, it's just hard for us to imagine here in Canada, I think, that there is this amazing medicine. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm going to take a spin here. Why isn't it in Canada? Why isn't it integrated in Canada? I know there are homeopathic doctors. You're here practicing.
Yes.
And they practice, I'm sure, in every other country of the world, basically.
Yes.
But it's not integrated. So what's with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm not sure I have the exact answer to that. I think part of it is because we have such an amazing medical system here. I mean, they do in Europe as well, but in Europe, there's a strong history. In Europe, there's a very long history of using homeopathy and other natural medicines. So, my grandmother was using homeopathy and she didn't need proof that it worked. She knew that it worked because she'd been using it all her life and her grandparents were using it. So there's a long history. Whereas here, I feel like we need proof for everything because we don't have that long history. And we do have such an amazing medical system, which is great. I mean, we need that medical system as well, but just for chronic, recurring problems, it's a Band-Aid approach in many cases, that's all.
And what I'm hearing also is that you have the ability permission to spend more time with your patient and to really get down to it rather than kind of being forced by the medical system. And I am by no way fully educated in what the medical system is. I just know that when I go to my doctor, it's like 10 minutes, one problem or one symptom I'm trying to get rid of. Yeah. There's no time for everything else. So you really get to take that time with who you work with.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing about the time too is that homeopathy is actually a very personalized medicine. So the medicines have to fit the symptoms that you experience. Whereas in conventional medicine, it's very much a chemical approach. You know, there's a missing chemical, so we've got to add it back in. And in homeopathy, there's a reason why that chemical is not there. It's just a symptom of an underlying problem. So it's a different way of looking at the body, really.
Yeah, because you could add that chemical back in, but it's not a long-term solution, like you said.
Exactly.
And in the middle of the night, or if you're an elite athlete who gets drug tested, you can't be taking all these different drugs, even though they are legal in our system. As an athlete, you can't use them because they're performance enhancing. I know, just not because I'm a professional athlete, but based on my varsity rugby days.
Yes.
I wish I had homeopathy at that point, because that would have been very helpful to me, because we couldn't even have like Vicks. When we were sick, like there were so many things we couldn't have. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and it actually for athletes specifically, it works very well. And again, because in conventional medicine, you only have anti-inflammatories. You don't really have anything to kickstart that body's healing, to shorten the healing time and reduce that healing time. And so that's what you need when you're an athlete, is you want to be back on the field as soon as possible. And homeopathy, is not a standalone for an athlete, but it can really help that body heal itself more quickly. So it's amazing.
Yeah. And so just with the time we have today, I've got a couple more questions I wanted to ask you, and I want to see like where you want to go. I know there's some lies out there about the health industry, about homeopathy. That's kind of one way I wanted to go. Maybe you've got a tip or two in there.
Yeah.
I also want to know what some secrets you have around how we can have better health, boost our health. So maybe you can, if you want to do both, great. You got a little tip on both. That'd be awesome for everybody listening.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I can go through 3 myths that I can share with you today that are
great.
Come across all the time in homeopathy. And the first one I alluded to already, it's about the chemical imbalance. So I just find so often we talk about, even in the media, they talk about chemical imbalances and fixing chemical imbalances. And in holistic medicine, not just homeopathy, it's not about the chemicals. Let me just give you an example. So, and this is, I think, very pertinent to Canada, just because we're the third most common country, I guess, that uses antidepressants. So we have the third highest use of antidepressants in the world. So with antidepressants, again, it's a chemical solution. But if you think of, so I can give you a case example of a young woman who was treated with homeopathy, but in the beginning, it was her journey started with a very sad experience. Her best friend committed suicide when she was 16. And she was distraught. She was upset. She was not eating. She was not sleeping. She was crying all the time. It lasted. It wasn't going away. And her parents were very worried. So they took her to the doctor. And of course, what did the doctor recommend? Antidepressants. And luckily, so her parents also knew some other people and were asking around. And so she ended up going to see a homeopath. It wasn't actually me at the time, but she told me the story. And I think it's just a perfect example of, homeopathy plus a bit of therapy, talking through, maybe she felt guilty, talking through the problem. And she was completely healed with just some natural remedies and some therapy in a very short period of time, whereas she could have been on antidepressants. So I think that illustrates a great example that it's not just all about chemicals.
Yeah.
Go on about menopause, and it's really the same thing. The body has this incredible potential to heal itself.
Wow.
So the second one is, or the second myth I think that people have is that they can do it all themselves. They can heal themselves, right? They can just go and take some supplements or take some remedies.
Yeah, because I've seen them at the supermarket, and I know when you've told me to go pick up a certain one, I've gone and picked it up.
Yes.
And it makes me read all the other labels and want to just grab whatever.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Why can't we?
Yeah, so I think if you have some knowledge about homeopathy, then you can go and use the remedies for simple problems like colds or flus or things like that. It's and I do workshops teaching women and moms how to use homeopathic remedies. But when it's a chronic recurring problem, you just can't fix it yourself. It's very complex. You need to know how to take the remedy, how often, when to stop, when to switch remedies. I even have my own homeopath, so it's just not that simple for chronic recurring problems.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's the third myth here?
Okay. So the third myth is that all natural treatments are super expensive. I think that's a general myth out there that's very common. And, you know, we do have a free medical system, so I can see where that sort of thought comes from. But, you know, a vial like a homeopathic remedy like this is what they normally look like.
Yeah. And
And
for anyone who is listening, for those on the podcast, it looks like a chapstick.
Right. It's a podcast. Yes. It does.
The Dynamic Women membership will be watching this on video. And then this is also for our podcast listeners.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. So they're just little pills. Maybe you can hear them in the background. And so a vial that might last you a month is only $10. So homeopathy is exceptionally inexpensive, first of all. Second of all, the cost is when you go and see a homeopath, it is in the time involved in choosing the correct remedy for you. Yeah. However, when you think about, you know, going back to that example of the young woman, the 16-year-old girl, she could have been on antidepressants for many, many years. But instead, she just had a few sessions with a homeopath and she was able to rebalance her body. And that's always the point in homeopathy, is to get the person healthier so that they're taking less medicines over time. So actually, it's very cost effective.
And also, if she was working a 9-to-5,
yes,
wasn't able to show up at work and perform, every day she's not there, she's losing money.
Yes, so, exactly. Yes.
And I know that when you healed me from, I was sick forever.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't kick it. And you asked me all the questions, you gave me a remedy, and very quickly I was back to normal, and I was so appreciative.
Yes.
And we know when we're sick, we're less productive. We're not able to do all the things we want to do personally. We fall behind. And so we are actually losing money.
Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a great example of how homeopathy works best. It's when your body's just not able to kick it yourself, whatever it is, whether it's an anxiety or whether it's a physical illness. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, we got a couple minutes here. Want to pull this together. What are some secrets you can give people, some tips you can give so that they can have optimal health? Because it's not just what are your symptoms because you have a problem, here's a remedy. It's also how can we just make you even better. So what are some tips?
Yeah, so some tips that I would recommend, first of all, so for me, there's always 3 pillars for maximum health. The first one is being aware, just awareness of your own body. No one knows your body like you. You're the expert in your own body. And so tuning into that and knowing what makes you healthy, I think there's nothing more important to that. If I can just quickly give you an example, I know we don't have a lot of time, but with insomnia, I'm not much of an insomniac, but sometimes I have trouble sleeping. And I noticed that if I was checking my emails before bed, it would get my mind going. I would start to think about, planning for so I stopped the emails. So it can be as simple as just being aware and tuning in to what feeds you, what's good for you, and what's taking your energy away. So that's the first one. The second one is healthy habits. We all know what those are, right? We all know what we should be doing, but it can be really, just keep it really simple. So, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, adding 5 more minutes to your exercise routine, reading labels, making sure you're eating simple ingredients. Those are just simple things that you can do every day. And if I can just get back to the sleep example, just if you're having trouble sleeping, putting together like a little sleep routine that's very simple and that's every day, it can make a huge impact on the rest of your life. Or if you're sleeping well, that's not a problem for you, add an apple a day. If you do something very simple, but you do it every day, it has a tremendous impact over the rest of your year or the rest of your life. So keep it simple. And then the third one is boost your own body's healing, whatever that might be. So, I'm a homeopath, so I would recommend a homeopathic remedy, just giving that example of the sleeplessness. A great remedy if your mind is really busy and you're planning and you're excited about something is in homeopathy, it's called Coffea. Coffea is actually made from the coffee bean, and you're thinking, coffee? Why would I use, a remedy made from coffee to help you sleep? But in homeopathy, because it kickstarts healing, it's kind of like a natural vaccine to help your body heal itself, a little bit of what it already has to kickstart the body's natural healing process. Coffea, when your mind is really busy, can actually help you fall asleep more quickly. So that's just a little remedy tip that I can give you.
Well, thanks.
It has to fit the symptoms. Yeah.
Thanks for that super tip there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nicole. I really do suggest that people check out a homeopathic doctor. I know that while you are based in Vancouver, you do sessions also over video. So over the internet, as long as you have a connection, Wi-Fi connection, you can connect with Nicole. So what's your website so that people can reach out to you?
My website is easy to remember. It's vancouverhomeopath.com.
Brilliant.
Yes. Or you can type in my name, Nicole Duelli, and it'll come up.
Yeah. And all the other information will be in the show notes so that you can learn more about Nicole. And she has tons of blogs. She is so passionate about homeopathic medicine. So please go on her blogs. Read them and attend one of her workshops. They are highly sought after because you learn so much in them, because Nicole's a great teacher. So thank you so much, Nicole. And
Diane. Thanks for having me on. I love dynamic women.
Oh, yeah. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Dynamic Women, for joining us today. Please hop on over to iTunes to subscribe and leave us a review. Who do you know who needs to hear our message? We'd love it if you'd share our channel with your friends and family. If you're ready to be more dynamic, have more balance and more success, head over to www.dynamicwomenclub.com/free gift for your Key to Success book. Stay dynamic.